Today, I want to share the most important piece of information that I have received. I am very blessed to know this information. I'm able to clearly show and prove to you in terms of the scriptures and in terms of the teaching of the Hebrew and the Buddhism, and to directly connect two very different things that looks very different on the surface, to be able to connect the two and to be able to share this most important, the deep secret, a secret so deep and so hidden, but at the same time a secret that is out in the open. So to be able to have this information and to be able to understand it and to be able to connect the dots and to be able to present it and give it to humanity, I consider myself extremely fortunate to have this amazing spiritual information. So today I will be connecting Hebrewism and Buddhism, like I usually do, but this one is like the pinnacle of like finding parallels or finding the same spiritual teaching. Finding it's like the pinnacle of how Hebrew and Buddhism are the same, and it is also the pinnacle of how Dzogchen Buddhism explains that all dharmas, all spiritual systems are one, and all spiritual systems are the same. So this piece of information that I'm going to share will highlight that, and we'll present that, and we'll bring that to the surface. We can have the revelation of how all information and all spiritual systems are exactly the same, that they are expressed completely different in different spiritual and cultural systems, but it's all the same. Doesn't matter how different it looks, but it's the same. So in terms of the Hebrew Christian system, because the Hebrew system is the Christian system in the mainstream world, and a lot of the Christian population that do not know the Hebrew system are very familiar with the four horsemen of the apocalypse as given in the book of Revelation. So all the Christian population know about the four horsemen. It's very popular, and it's a very mainstream, very popular concept, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. In Buddhism, we have something very similar, or in Buddhism, how the four horsemen are explained is that they are explained in terms of the four subtle minds. So the four subtle mind. In Buddhism, the four horsemen directly corresponds to the four subtle mind. So in Buddhism, we have the gross mind and the subtle mind. So the gross mind is to do with your, it's like the four elements, or the gross aspect of a human being is your five aggregates, which is like you're seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and feeling. Those are the gross ones. The gross ones are like the obvious ones, the things that you see with your eyes, you hear with your ears, you taste with your mouth. Those are the gross things that are obvious because they have a form. But the subtle ones are a bit more trickier, because the subtle ones are to do with your mind. It's about the knowledge and the wisdom of how you perceive information, how you consume information, and how you understand information, quality of life you have in regards to the information that you acquire. As a human being, we function, and our quality of life depends on the information that we have, and the things that we understand about this world is like the quality of our life. That's what happiness and sadness equates to, what information you know, how you perceive and understand information, and or knowledge or wisdom, how you understand. Knowledge and wisdom directly corresponds to how you feel, how you understand the world, and your quality of life. So in Buddhism, you have like the gross, which is the obvious, the things that you see, like you see an object, like this is gross, like it's tangible. So I can just directly see it. That's like your gross the gross mind or the gross aggregate, whereas the something that is hidden, which is mental information, knowledge based, that is the subtle one that's hard to see. And within the four horsemen, you will find that the four horsemen directly corresponds to the subtle mind. The four subtle minds directly corresponds to the four horsemen. And with the four horsemen, you have the four colors that are, so you have the white horse, the red horse, the black horse, and the pale horse. Sometimes the pale horse is also represented as the green horse. And so the four horsemen is the white horse, red horse, black horse, pale green, white horse. So they are like the four horses. And these four horses are directly corresponds to the four subtle mind, that is the mind of white appearance, the mind of red increasing, the mind of black near attainment, and the mind of clear light, which is also white. So it's the same. You have the white horse that corresponds to the white subtle mind. The red horse corresponds to the red increasing subtle mind. The black horse corresponds to the black near attainment subtle mind. And the pale white green horse corresponds to the clear light, which is like the white subtle mind. So it's the same. The component of the horse as well, you have like, because why we have the four horsemen is not by chance. And the symbolism of the horse in Buddhism directly corresponds to the wind, which is like our breath, our wind, and the wind is known to carry everything. So the wind in the mind teachings of Buddhism, the wind carries these thoughts. So these winds, the winds inside of us, the subtle winds or the gross winds, which is like your breath, and your subtle winds, which goes beyond your breath. It is even further behind your breath, like the super subtle winds. So these subtle winds are known to carry all the information around your whole body. So it's the wind that carries all the information in your entire body system. So the wind component that goes around your entire body, the wind that is constantly moving inside your entire body, in your mind, everywhere, that wind is the horse. So the wind is the horse. It's like the horse that's riding, the horse that's running around in your entire system. So imagine this horse running everywhere. So that's represented as the wind. So you have two things. You have the wind, and you have the mind. And the wind is the horse, and the mind is the rider. So you are the rider. So you are riding this wind, and it depends on what kind of wind you are riding. So if you're riding a positive thought wind, then your thoughts are positive, you feel good. And if you're riding a negative thought wind, then you feel bad. Then you get sick, or you get tired, you get fatigued, or you get deluded, you get cheated, you get conned, because you're riding an impure, incorrect, ignorant wind. But if you're riding a wind that is based on wisdom, that is based on knowledge, then you feel good, you feel positive, you feel empowered, you feel strong, and you are victorious. But if you are riding an impure wind, that means you lose. But if you're riding a pure wind, you are victorious. So the wind is directly depicted as the horse. So the horseman is not by accident. Within the book of Revelation, the horsemen of the apocalypse, they actually directly represent the mind and the thought. They represent the wind and the mind. So the horse is represented as the wind, and the mind is represented as the rider. So the horseman is like, the horse is the horse and the man is the rider. So the horseman is like, you can say the horsemen are actually riding the negative impure wind. You can say that for the apocalypse, because it's the apocalypse. And you will see like the horsemen that will manifest during the Great Tribulation. When we have the horsemen manifest, they are actually the impure. They are the impure winds. And as a result of the impure winds, with the white horse, we get conquest With the red horse, we get war. With the black horse, we get famine. And with the pale white green horse, we get death. So those are like the impure negative winds that the four horsemen of the apocalypse are riding, the four impure winds. That's why we have like the tribulation scene and the calamities and everything that humanity is going to experience and go through during the Great Tribulation, because the four horsemen are actually riding the impure wind. The white horse is the conquest, the red horse is the war, the black horse is pestilence or famine, and then you have the pale white green horse as death. It will be like basically manifested on the outside as well. So if you want to overcome these four impure winds, or if you want to overcome the four wind horse, impure wind horse, you have to purify your internals. You have to purify your internal wind. You have to be able to use wisdom. What wisdom would overcome the, let's say, the conquest white horse? Understanding what that means and what wisdom can overcome the conquest white horse. What wisdom can overcome the war white horse? Red horse. What wisdom can overcome the famine black horse? What wisdom can overcome the death pale white horse? So we have to apply the wisdom for that, because everything is duality, it's polarity. You have the ignorance and the wisdom. If you are in the Great Tribulation, if you are dealing with the four impure wind horse, you have to apply the opposite. You have to apply the medicine. You have to apply the wisdom for the impure wind horse that you are experiencing. And eventually you will get to the point of emptiness for each. Like say, for example, if you have the white horse and you're dealing with conquest, and you apply the wisdom for the conquest, and then once you apply the wisdom and you overcome the white horse, you get to your first empty. So you will achieve your first empty, because this whole point, this whole premise of the Great Tribulation is to experience the four emptiness, and the four emptiness corresponds to the four white horse as well. So say if you're dealing with the red horse of war, what do you apply, and how do you overcome the red white horse of war? And then say if you apply peace in that, if you're able to harness peace in that state of war, when you're victorious over the red horse, you will get to your very empty mind state. So you have to incrementally and subsequently dissolve. So you have to first dissolve the white horse, you overcome it, and then you attain your first empty. And then the red horse will arise, and the red horse, you have to overcome it, and then the red horse will dissolve when you overcome it, and then you realize you're very empty. And then after you dissolve the red horse, the black horse will arise, which is a Great Tribulation. The black horse will arise, and through the black horse, you will apply whatever medicine you need to apply for that. And then after you dissolve, which is when you are victorious over the black horse, you dissolve the black horse, and then you attain your great empty as a result of that. And then after the white horse dissolves, then the clear light will arise. And in the clear light, you apply what you have to apply for death, which is resurrection, which is like, that's basically, the pale horse is basically death and resurrection. And then you will get to the all empty in terms of the last one. So you have like the two polarities. You have like the white horse of conquest, and whatever medicine that you're applying, whatever wisdom wind you're applying to that impure white horse, you have the two polarities there. And then you get to the non-dual state of empty. So you have the white horse of conquest as a negative polarity, and then you apply your horse, your positive horse, to overcome the impure white horse. You apply your wisdom horse to overcome the impure horse, and then you get to the non-duality of empty. So for each horseman, there is a positive duality And then that positive duality needs to be applied on the negative duality, so you can dissolve the negative duality. And once you are able to dissolve the negative duality through the positive, then you get to the non-dual empty. So that's how you can deal with it, in terms of your four horsemen of the apocalypse, and how you're going to overcome the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So I have written like a detailed piece of writing for this, but at the same time not to like put too much information, but enough information so you have a nice background, and then you can go in and further study this and realize and understand what it means for you, because it is your personal journey, it is your war, it is your conquest, it is your famine, it is your death in life, and then it is what the Buddha teaches you and how you are guided in your journey. And the Buddha, our Father in heaven, will teach you in terms of your individual nature, and it will be very specific and very individualized to the individual. And however you overcome the white horse, however you overcome the red horse, it will be totally up to you, and it will be your work between you and our Father in heaven, between Yahweh or Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, who is Yahweh is manifesting as Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, and the Buddha teaches everyone according to their capacity. So this is how we can directly see the oneness of dharma, in terms of how like the four horsemen and the four subtle mind, they are the same thing. So when you combine the gross mind and the subtle mind, you get 7 winds. So you get 7 horses or 7 winds, and the 7 directly corresponds to the 7,000 years of our spiritual age. It directly corresponds to that. And then we also, if you add everything, it also comes up to 8. And 8 comes after the 7,000 years has completed, and the 8 is basically the all empty. It is like the resurrection. It is like the all empty. That's the 8. But right now we're dealing first, initially with the tribulation, we're dealing with the 6. And then the 7 is the 1,000 years with Yeshua, Son of God, which is yet to come. And then after the 7,000, we have the 8 after that. So all of that is covered within the 7 minds, 7 winds. So that's like the entire system. That's like from basically, it covers the whole system. In terms of what I have read in the Hebrew scriptures, which is like the 8 is mentioned in the Hebrew scriptures as well. So you will see that 8 directly in terms of the Buddhist mind teaching, in terms of the 4 gross mind and the 4 subtle mind, you have the 8 right there as well. So we are spiritually overcoming our own biological mechanics, in terms of what goes on the inside manifests on the outside. So we're directly dealing with that, and we have to understand spirituality in terms of that. So whatever we carry within us, whatever wind we carry within us, whatever horse we are riding, whatever negative or positive thought we are riding within us, is the manifestation outside. So it's like, that's what we have to understand as a humanity, and not point our fingers to Christ Father or Holy Spirit and say that you are not doing anything, you're not saving, you're letting me die, you're letting me burn, you're letting me suffer. You cannot say that, because Buddhism has completely detailed in terms of what wind you are carrying. So if you're carrying an impure wind, that means it's on you. So what you're manifesting on the outside, it's on you. Because if you are carrying that impure wind and you're not able to override it with a pure wind, if you're not able to apply the medicine and overcome the impure wind, if you cannot do that, then you cannot blame anyone, because it's you yourself, internally you are carrying that. What you manifest on the outside also affects other people. So like for example, if you carry a disease, you are at risk of giving that disease to someone else. What disease you carry inside of you is going to affect other people around you. So you become or risk to other people. So when you can heal yourself from the inside, then you do not impact other people around you. So and that's what Buddhism is teaching you here with this. It's showing you that what is going to manifest on the outside is the winds that you carry, is the negative or the positive thoughts that you carry, is the impurity that you have. It's up to you what horse you want to mount, whether you want to mount an impure horse or whether you want to mount a pure horse, whether you want to mount a horse of war or you want to mount a horse of peace. Whatever you mount, that will be your outcome on the outside. So, and then, and if you're able to properly work with the horse of war and the horse of peace, and if you're properly able to work with that, and if you're able to dissolve that, then you, in that instance, you will realize one of the empty, the very empty for the red horse. So in that way, you can also see like how powerful you are as a spiritual being, that what you consist within you directly manifests on the outside. So you can see how powerful you are in that case. And if you are able to manifest all these dark things on the outside, if we are able to manifest the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and all the great tribulation instances that are going to unfold, is the manifestation of our ignorance, is what we have. It's all the impure winds that we consist within us. So if we are able to manifest this massive chaos, then imagine the power you have to manifest pure enlightenment, to manifest peace, to manifest prosperity and abundance, and to be able to help others, and to be able to rapture and go to heaven, to purify this earth. Imagine the power that you have just by choosing what wind you are going to mount, what wind horse you're going to mount, what thought you're going to mount, where you are going to go, which destination are you going to go in that horse, whether you're going to go to a peaceful destination or you're going to go to a war destination. So which is like whatever horse you mount as an individual will either take you to heaven or will take you to hell. That's your vehicle. So your vehicle is your horse. Your vehicle is your inner wind, is your impure wind or your pure wind, and your ability to transform the duality of the impure and the pure and realize the non-dual empty. And that's the basis of everything. So that's the 4 horsemen and the 4 subtle minds that we will be directly encountering in the Great Tribulation. So another vital piece of information connected to all of this is that there is what is called the 80 indicative conceptions that are divided into 3 groups. So they are like these 80 conceptions. So these 80 conceptions, they are divided into 3 categories that fall under anger, desire, and ignorance. So the 3 poisons of Buddhism, anger, desire, and ignorance, are the 3 main poisons of Buddhism. And the 80 conceptions are divided under anger, desire, and ignorance. So you have the first conception that falls under the anger category, and there are 33 conceptions that fall under the anger category. And you can read the list that I have written. So the conceptions are like detachment, then you have fear, sadness, cognizing, fixation, discrimination, compassion, love, jealousy, grasping. So these are all the concepts, all the various concepts that we deal with, and those can be even seen as the wind horse, that we mount on. So are you going to mount on detachment? Are you going to mount on fear? Are you going to mount on craving? Are you going to mount on fixation? Are you going to mount on compassion, love? Are you going to mount on jealousy? That falls under the anger category, and the anger category has 33. And 33 is directly corresponds to the age of Yeshua, Son of God, known as Jesus Christ. So the first anger component comes through the energy of Yeshua, which is the 33 gross conceptions, and falls under the anger category. So you have the 33, and you can say like Yeshua, Son of God, overcame the 33 gross conceptions. Like he overcame all of those things as a result of his total Buddhahood. And then after the 33, we have the desire category. After the anger, we have the desire category. And in the desire category, you get 40 gross conceptions. So in the desire category, you have conceptions like desire, clinging, joy, respect, satisfaction, amazement, delight, strength, bliss, retention, shamelessness, courage, deceitfulness, generosity, flirtation. So you have like all of these different concepts. So in the 40 gross concepts, you can mount on any of these concepts, like rejoicing. You can mount on intense joy. You can mount on respect. You can mount on bliss. You can mount on deceitfulness. You can mount on viciousness. You can mount on shamelessness, grasping. You can mount on any of the 4 gross conceptions, or the 40 gross conceptions that fall under the desire. And the 40 gross conception is to do with the feminine, the red increasing, the Holy Spirit. So I'm currently in my 40s, and that's what it means. So it's directly to do with the age. It's like you have to actually overcome the 40 gross conceptions, and then I can wrap. So you have the Yeshua Son of God with the 33 conceptions that he has to overcome, and with the Holy Spirit you have the 40 conceptions that has to be overcome. And then as a third, you have the ignorance category, and in the ignorance category you have the 7 gross conceptions. And the 7 gross conception directly corresponds to the 7 years of the Great Tribulation. And in the 7 gross conceptions, you have forgetfulness, confusion, being stunned, the moment of medium desire, weariness, laziness, doubt. So these are the 7 gross conceptions that you have to overcome. So you cannot mount on forgetfulness. You cannot mount on the horse of laziness, doubt, confusion, weariness. You cannot mount on these horses, or you cannot mount on like the medium desire. You have to like overcome all of that and realize the great empty. And the third one, the tribulation conception, is showing up as ignorance. So it's categorized under ignorance, and that is like perfect because it's the ignorance. It's like us not knowing about this world. All the disclosure and testimony that we are giving, people are calling us conspiracy theorists, and trying to put a mental health label on the information that we are sharing. That has to do with the ignorance of humanity that doesn't understand the information that we are sharing, that it's so far-fetched and so difficult for them to perceive, that they will label it conspiracy theory, or they will put all of these fancy non-existent mental health labels under the work that we are doing. So that's why it's categorized under ignorance, is because you're not able to perceive. There is doubt. You cannot have doubt. You cannot have confusion, because the demons will make you confused. The demons will make you doubt someone. It's like, oh, you don't trust that person. They'll make you doubt. And if you doubt in spirituality, if you have even the smallest amount of doubt, and if you're doing great work, but if you doubt it, you cannot achieve full enlightenment. Even if you're a great practitioner, if you doubt is deadly. You cannot have doubt. If you doubt, oh my God, is this rapture real? Is this tribulation real? Is this just a great alien invasion, or is it like really a spiritual thing? If you doubt it and if you're confused, actually ignorance you have to overcome. So you have to, instead of mounting on laziness, doubt, confusion, forgetfulness, you have to mount on the opposite of doubt. You have to trust, you have to understand, you have to open your wisdom, to read the scriptures. You have to come out of laziness. You have to study the scripture, because if you don't study the scripture, you will not know what's happening outside. The scripture is the script for this reality. It's basically written down. It's very easy. You just have to read it and understand it. It's that easy. It's not that hard. If you read, the information is right there. Everything that's happening in this world can be explained word for word if you read the scriptures. Like nothing is taking place in this world outside the scriptures. That's what you have to understand. So if you're lazy and if you do not read the scriptures, then the demons will confuse you and trick you. So that's why you have to come out of the ignorance of not knowing, not believing, using fanciful, non-existent labels, such as conspiracy theories and mental health. Those things don't exist. They are just mind control operations. They are just like psyops. They are black magic, mind control, black magic phrases to literally stop you in your path from going further into accessing that information. If someone says, oh, it's a conspiracy theorist, then you will not even look at that information, and you will miss out and you will not know the truth. And that's why these labels are there for a reason, and they work. That's why it's black magic, because it works. It stops you in your track. That's why you have to come out of that ignorance, come out of your doubt, come out of your confusion, and pursue information, and pursue the scriptures, pursue the truth, pursue wisdom, and get on your horse and pursue wisdom, so that when you ride that horse, you go to heaven and not to hell. So you do not go to hell with the people that tricked you. And so like the Great Tribulation falls under the ignorance category. So, and the ignorance is the humanity, and the ignorance we have to dissolve through the black attainment, which is like the third phase. And it is also the phase of our Father in heaven, or Shakyamuni Lord Buddha. It's also his phase. So you have the sun's phase. That was the 33 gross conceptions and the age of 33. Then you have the Holy Spirit's 40 gross conceptions around that age of 40. And then you have the seven years of the Great Tribulation with the 7 gross conceptions. So with the 33 gross conception, Yeshua, Son of God, was overcoming the 33 gross conception, dissolving all that. And with the Holy Spirit, you have the 40 gross conception. So we have to overcome the 40 gross conception and dissolve that. And that's why you're given that 40 years to dissolve the 40. You're given the 33 years to dissolve the 30. But for me, it's not directly 40. It's not like smack 40 like Yeshua, Son of God, had like smack 33. He finished his mission like 33 and he was out of here. For me, it's a little bit different. So I feel like I have been given a little bit of that space and that room to achieve my work, because of just the situation that we are in with the omnipresent targeting and all the stuff that I have to deal with in terms of like in terms of my spiritual work, and in terms of my learning and studying, and making me forget information, making me confused about information, not making me understand information like I'm trying to read and understand, and they will just not let me understand. So things like that I have to deal with. And so I feel like, because we are in such a demonic space at this moment, and we are constantly harassed and constantly attacked, and like for me it's like 24/7 dealing with the fallen angels in telepathy. Is 24/7. And so for that, in that case, I do not have like this perfect spiritual environment to practice my spirituality. I guess no one does, but because it's the end times, it's just more, it's intensified. Everything is intense. So I'm working in that 24/7 surveillance intensity, and with beings that are infinitely more powerful than me, that are like 6,000, 10,000 years old, and powerful than me in every facet. They can will my entire body and mind. So I'm working within that space, and I think that's why Father allows a little bit of that openness, and it won't be like smack 40, but it will give me some space to like, just space to learn. So if I miss out 2 days, if I don't learn, if I forget, if something happens, because demons are always putting obstacles in your path as well. So Father accounts for all of that. So he will give me enough room so that I don't have to do it like on smack 40. So, but the 40 is there. The 40 is the guideline for me, and the 40 is there. And I'm like 40 plus right now. So the 40 is like the time that it takes to dissolve that. So if there are 40 conceptions, it will take around that 40 years to dissolve those gross conceptions. With Yeshua, Son of God, he dissolved the 33. By the age of 33, he was already out of here. And then With the Great Tribulation, you have the 7 gross conceptions. So you don't have a lot, you only have 7. So Yeshua's dissolved 33, I'm dissolving the 40, and you'll only dissolve 7. So that's why you're only given 7 years, because most of the work is already done. You only have seven gross conceptions to dissolve, so you're given 7 years for that. But it's not going to be easy just because it's like only 7 gross conception. It's still not going to be easy because you will have the intensity of our Father. And when we do the 3, when we do like the anger, desire, and ignorance, so Yeshua was doing the anger, I'm doing the desire, our Father will do the ignorance. And when all of those 3 dissolve, then we can get to the all empty or the great empty. After we dissolve the ignorance, we get to the great empty. After we do the Lakne attainment, we realize the great empty. So Yeshua, Son of God's non-duality is called empty. My non-duality is called very empty. Father's non-duality is called great empty. So in the great tribulation, you'll be doing the great empty. And the great empty will take us to the 1,000 years of the Yeshua, Son of God's time. So out of the 80 gross conceptions, we have already dissolved the 73 gross conceptions. So we have 7 more to go. And after the 7 conceptions are dissolved through the 7 years of Great Tribulation, then we can achieve the complete dissolving of the 80 gross conception. And that's how we progress in terms of our spiritual awakening and enlightenment. 7 years of your Great Tribulation directly corresponds to the 7 gross conceptions that you have to dissolve. So that's why I think the Great Tribulation will be smack 7 years. It won't be like my 40, that's a little bit like extended 40. It won't be like that, but it will be more of like smack 7 years. The Great Tribulation and the 7 gross conceptions is related to ignorance, and it is the 3rd black horse. And the 3rd black horse has to do with famine and has to do with our Father in heaven. It has to do with him. Within the 3rd black horse, the non-duality for the 3rd black horse is called the great empty. So what I'm experiencing now in my awakening, all the testimony that I'm giving, and as I'm emptying myself of this reality and realizing that everything is an illusion, my attainment will be very empty. So let's say in terms of Yeshua, Son of God's time period, he was living in a completely different time period to us. So all of these deceptions that we have and everything that we have in terms of like technology, in terms of consumerism, like basically everything's changed in this world. So that's why with the Yeshua, Son of God, when he was realizing emptiness, when he was realizing deception, it's not to the degree of our world, because our world is like jacked. Our world is like completely like manifestations of different things from every angle, and everything's changed. The banks are changed, money is different, technology is different, human beings are different, our education system is different, how we learn, how we think, how we speak, our language is different. Even our language is not perfect, and everything is distorted. The scriptures are burned. There's no spirituality. There's more of that carnal lifestyle, whereas in Yeshua's age we had more of the spiritual lifestyle, but now we are in this completely like almost 80%, 90% carnal lifestyle that we live. So it's a completely different landscape that we are living in. So when we overcome this hyper landscape that we are in, then we are obviously going to realize the bigger emptiness, because we have more to overcome and we have more to empty and we have more to realize and see, and we have more trickery to understand, and there are more tricks than they were in, like, say, the time of Yeshua, for example. So that's why when Yeshua was doing his emptiness, he realized empty. When I'm doing, because it's a more, let's say, advanced landscape, we are attaining, or I am attaining, the very empty. And say when you go to our Father's system, which is the Great Tribulation, you will be in the great empty, because there are so many things that I'm picking up that has not been revealed. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things, just so many things that is not completely revealed. Like even if I study the satanic ritual abuse victims, there are like thousands and thousands of victims that are not speaking out, that are not saying the names of the people that are abusing them, that are not fully revealing everything that has happened to them, that is concealing their identity. So I'm like, oh my God, you have to come out, you have to speak, because it is your job to speak your truth in the light, everything that has happened to you. And all of those things are still hidden. So there are many things that have not surfaced, then many things that I'm already seeing that it's still hidden. But I think in our Father's time, all of that will come out, because we'll have the rapture and we'll have some sense of like opening between heaven and earth. And in that space, everything will come out. And that's why it's called the great empty, because all the things that I don't have access to right now, I'm like, oh, I wish like these millions of people would come out and speak about the Satans, about the satanic population, and even the people, the inside whistleblowers that know everything, absolutely everything. They are not allowed to speak. If they speak, they will be killed. If they speak, they will be sent to a mental health institute. So there are many insider whistleblowers that are born in the system, that are transgendered from a young age. They cannot speak. So in the Father's system, because of the Great Tribulation, we'll be in a completely different landscape. And then we'll even have a greater disclosure that everyone will speak out. So that's why we will have the great empty in our Father's time period, because the deception is so great. Just the ability of the fallen angels, just the black magic ability that they have to basically cover their tracks and to conceal information, to intimidate people from not speaking out. When I read through the comments of people on different Instagram and YouTube, and I read people's comments, I see one person was saying like, this girl that spoke out gave testimony, like she was in this hospital and she spoke to this nurse about her satanic ritual abuse, and the nurse wanted to help her. And a week later, that woman was put into a mental health hospital, and later and after that, she even died. And the nurse had her awakening through that, and the nurse was trying to help, like the nurse was trying to help other people that are part of satanic ritual abuse, and she believed that there is satanic ritual abuse because of what happened to the girl when that girl spoke out, just to a nurse. So that's the level of black magic that the satanics do, the fallen angels do, the demons and evil spirits and the fallen angels. That's what they do. If you speak out, they'll put you in a mental hospital, they'll even kill you. They'll put you in prison, they'll threaten you, they can even give you diseases in your body. They can remotely telepathically hurt you. They can just do various things to make you not even speak out. So that's the intensity, and that's the environment that we are in. It looks like in the Great Tribulation, which is the ground of Father, looks like we'll be in a completely different space, and everyone can speak out at that point, and we will experience more disclosures as a result of that. Even for me, when I'm learning as an individual, what I have understood is that if I access information from people, and if people help me, if people assist me with different things, even everyday life, if someone gives me a bunch of lemons, I see something happens to that person. If I go to a shop and if I get something done, and all of a sudden that person is reporting that, oh, I'm so sick, I cannot complete your work at this point, I have to call you back later, and that person's really sick because they were doing something for me. So there was this other person that helped me with some of the renovations I was doing, like some minor renovation works that I was doing in the house. And there was this person, this very good carpenter that was helping me. And then later I found out that that carpenter had a stroke and he was permanently disabled. He was working as a carpenter for a very long time, for 40-50 years, and he was very good at his work, and he was one of those non-commercial guys, and he knew what he was doing, and he helped me. And then later I found out that he was very sick, and he almost died, and he was permanently disabled. So whoever helps me, whoever assists me, if I hire someone, even if I'm say for example, if I learn information from a monk or learn information from a guru, say if I get a authentic lama to teach me information, they will just kill that lama. They will just kill that guru. That's the environment that we are living in, and that's the space that I'm in, and that's the situation that I'm in. And it's like whoever helps you, whoever you associate with, whatever you do, wherever you go, we will like destroy that, and we'll destroy the person. So even some of my past experiences I've had before my awakening, every time I went to a restaurant and I loved the restaurant, and I would go to that restaurant all the time. And then 6 months later, that restaurant would shut down. And I'd find another new one. I was like, oh my God, I really love this restaurant. And then again, that restaurant shuts down. So there's like just literally a list of restaurants that I can give you a name of that has shut down over the time that were like my favorite restaurants. But I didn't know at that time. I was like, oh, every restaurant I go to, somehow it just shuts down. And I didn't know about my spiritual identity. I didn't know who I was. I was just a regular everyday person, and I was just having these experiences around me. And even like shops, if I go to shops, if I really have a favorite shop, they'll just shut the shop down. That's what they tend to do. So like I'm in this very heavily targeted space, and the beings that deal with me, I don't know, hate is not even a word. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's just like, I have no language for that, because I've never experienced something so different, like so different. It's just, there's no language to explain what I'm experiencing and the beings that are around me and the beings that deal with me. So the jealousy is great. And whatever I like, whatever I associate with, they try to destroy, or they do usually destroy. So that's like the environment that we are in. So when people are not giving disclosures, when people are afraid, it's a genuine thing, because people do not have that kind of support. People do not have that kind of environment around them, especially the people that are born in the satanic cult that want to speak out. They would not have anyone around them to support them. Like some people like us, when we are outside the cult, it's maybe a little bit easy for us, even though it's not, because I've had the Satanists use my family against me, to not speak out or to give up my spiritual path. They have used my family against me. So in that context, so none of us are exempt from that satanic environment. But I think the inside whistleblowers, or the people that are coming from within the cult, it would be exponentially more difficult for them, because they are in the cult. Their friends and family are the cult. But in the Great Tribulation, it will be a different landscape, and they will have that opportunity to speak up, because we are meant to speak up. We are meant to speak. We are meant to say our truth. We are meant to bring darkness to light. And that's how we end basically the nighttime that we have, the dark and light polarity. We end the night by bringing all the darkness to light. We bring all the darkness to light. And then in the future age of our Father, we won't even have nighttime, because we brought out all the darkness to light. And there's no darkness. There's nothing to hold back, because everything has been spoken into the light. And we'll have no darkness. So the dark people, or the fallen angels, or the evil ones, or the evil forces, they represent the dark, because they are hidden. So in the dark, how you cannot see, they are the dark, and we are the light. We are the light, and that's why we're always speaking in the light. We're bringing all the darkness to light. The dark people, they want to hide, because they are literally the dark. It's like the dark at night, you cannot see. So they are literally the dark, and you cannot see them. So they represent the dark, and they literally want to hide. So your job is to do the opposite of that. What do you do to something that wants to hide? You bring them to light, because they don't like that, because they are of the dark. And they don't want the sun to shine. They don't want the light. They don't want to look at the light. They hate the light, because they are the dark. And your job is to bring light to the dark space, because you are the light. You are the sun for that darkness. And that's how it works with the polarity. You have the poison and the medicine. So the dark is the poison, and your light is the medicine. And you use that light upon the dark, and you turn that dark into light, And then you have no polarity and you experience emptiness for that. That's the space that we are practicing our spirituality, and that's why Father allows for that little bit of that space, you know, that I don't have to do it like maybe smack at 40. Father knows everything. Father knows the total outcome, how the satanics are going to stop me, what they're going to do, how they're going to make me forget things that I don't even know, things that I can't even process, understand. That all of those things have been accounted for. So that's why for me it might not be like have to do everything by the age of 40, but it will be around the 40. But for the Great Tribulation, you'll only have 7. You'll only have 7 years. You won't have like that extra space within the tribulation. It will be 7 years, because you have the 3.5 years and the 3.5 years, and everything will unfold and happen and take place within the 7 years. And that's how you want it, because you will have also the bigger disclosure. You have all of the disclosure. So the more disclosure you have, the quicker you can realize the emptiness. The more disclosure you see, the more naked truth that you see around you, the more you can gain your emptiness, which is basically releasing all the deception, understanding it is everything is an illusory mirage, everything is a deception, everything is a lie, everything is trickery, black magic, mind control, MK Ultra. All the ruling elites are Satanists, they're all demons, they're all transgenders, they're all gender flipped. All the hot guys are actually girls. All the hot girls are actually guys. When you know all that, you can basically like release everything. And then the more deception is released, the more deception that comes to the light, the greater your emptiness, the more emptiness you will quickly realize. So that's the blessing we have with the Father Tantra. And that's how you have to look at it. That's how you have to understand it, because the 7 years will be quick, will be intense, and will be fast. And Father's energy, if you have read the Hebrew scriptures, you know Father's energy. And with the black near attainment, that's what it's called. The subtle mind is called the black near attainment, which is a Father. It's appropriate, because with the black near attainment, you have this thing where your consciousness actually faints. Like when the blackness comes through, you will actually faint to a point where you feel like you are dying. So if you know the Hebrew scriptures, you know that's the case. When you go too close to Father, you literally die. Father will be like, don't come close to me, stay away from me, stay like this much, stay at this distance from me, so that if you come too close, you're going to die, you're going to faint. So stay at this distance from me so you can live. So that's basically what Father's saying. That's the black mirror attainment, which is like if you go too close to it, you basically faint, because the blackness is so black, you like just faint, you just switch off, you turn off. And that's very appropriate with the Father's energy and the black near attainment. That's appropriate. So when I dissolve, because I'm the red increase, and after I dissolve, which is dissolving is like literally exiting this world. So I dissolve out of this world. And when I go out, the black will come through. So the black near attainment will come through. So it's going to be pretty intense. And then with the black near attainment, you have 2 parts. You have the upper and the lower. And you have the subtle mindfulness and no mindfulness. So I am seeing like the subtle mindfulness as the 3.5 years and the no mindfulness as the 3.5 years. If you're smart, you want to achieve your rapture in the subtle mindfulness in the first half of the 3.5 years. If you're smart, because then after that it might be really dark. It will get very dark. So in terms of the 80 conceptions, you have 33, which was successfully accomplished by Yeshua, Son of God, and the Holy Spirit, which is 40, which is accomplished. And then with the 7 years is the one humanity will accomplish. And then we have the total of the 80 that we have dissolved, and then we can experience the great empty or the OMT. So that's what you want to understand with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and the 4 subtle mind and the 4 emptiness that we're dealing with. So the 4 horsemen are your negative polarity, and then with your positive subtle mind, you can overcome the four horsemen negative polarity, you can overcome it with your inner wisdom horse. And then when you overcome the negative polarity, you can attain your non-dual emptiness as a result of that. So your emptiness is basically your non-dual, and your personal war, your personal battle with the apocalyptic horses, which are your winds, which are your impure winds, which are your impure negative thoughts. Whether you want to mount a horse of war or you want to mount a horse of peace, whether you want to ride a horse of famine or you want to ride a horse of prosperity and abundance, it all depends on you. And everything has already been detailed in the scriptures in terms of, like, if you study the scripture, you know the system of our Father. You have to study the Old Testament to know our Father. So if you're dealing with the black new attainment, the great empty, if you're dealing with that, if you're dealing with the black horse, which is the great tribulation, you want to study the Old Testament. And that's like our Father's work is the Old Testament. And that is basically how our Father is. And that's how his system is, and how to operate in his system is the Old Testament in the Bible. So if you want to understand famine, you can study Elijah. So you can study Elijah, how Father was working with Elijah. You can study famine in terms of Elijah, because the black horse is the famine. So you can study Elijah for that. And also with the great tribulation, you have, like our Father has said, that he is going to pour out his Holy Spirit to everyone. So everyone will have a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom to share with each other. And also you will have Enoch and Elijah as well coming back in the great tribulation. So it's going to be like an unimaginable space. And that's why the great empty will be realized, because we have like a completely spiritual space, because obviously it's the ground of our Father, and it is the end times, and it is also like the last stage, because it is like you're very close. After the black, you get to the indestructible nature, because the indestructible drop is sitting in your heart. And that we have to dissolve subsequently. We have to dissolve the four gross mind and the three subtle minds. So you have to dissolve the four gross mind, the four elements, and then you have to dissolve the white, red, and black. You have to dissolve that, the three subtle, and then you get to the white, which is the indestructible drop, which is like directly corresponds to Yeshua, Son of God. When he died, he went through death, but he resurrected, because a last horse is death. So the last horse is death. So that's the clear light. That's like the indestructible, your indestructible drop. So that's the indestructible drop that cannot be dissolved. Everything else can be dissolved. The four elements, the three subtle minds can be dissolved, but the indestructible drop, it cannot be dissolved. So, and that indestructible drop carries on to the next life. It naturally just carries on to the next life, because it doesn't dissolve. So it just goes somewhere else. So once I dissolve all of my gross and subtle minds, I go out. I dissolve out into another place. So that indestructible drop will carry me to heaven. So that indestructible drop is sitting inside of you, and it can only be accessed once we go through the subsequent dissolving. So we dissolve the four minds, then we dissolve the white, we dissolve the red, and we dissolve the black, and we get to the indestructible drop. And that indestructible drop comes after the near black attainment. So you can study my writing, and you can also study the deeper concepts of the four subtle minds and the gross minds. You can study those. You can study, for those who do not know the four horsemen of the apocalypse, they can study the book of Revelation. They can study the Hebrew scriptures. And the book of Revelation is basically a tribulation ground. So something that you want to absolutely know is the book of Revelation. With this presentation, I have there's no doubt in terms of the connection of the Buddhism and the Hebrewism that I have been trying to bridge the gap, or I've been trying to present it in that light, which is the truth. But this information is like the pinnacle, because it literally leaves no room for doubt in terms of how the four horsemen and the wind horse, how they manifest in terms of the Hebrew and the Buddhist system. Like, there is no room for doubt with this information. Understand that the Great Tribulation is the ground of a father. Whatever happens, whatever the satanic ruling elite are telling you on the surface, you have to understand the black new attainment is the energy of a father in heaven, and it's him and it's his ground. And if the Antichrist is doing the mark of the beast with the financial technology, it's coming from our Father to test humanity. Because if you read the book of Revelation, the financial technology has already been revealed there. So you have to understand that it is the ground of our Father, and work with him and work directly with our Father. So whatever happens to you, anything bad that happens to you, it's just certain things that you do not understand. It's like all of these fears and all of these different impure winds that you carry within you, and those impure winds are manifesting throughout your body. So somehow you have to do your spiritual practice, you have to do your purification and overcome the impure winds, or use the wisdom winds in place of the impure winds. You can always replace the impure winds of fear, anxiety, famine, war, whatever you're going through, whatever is happening outside, absolutely anything that's happening outside, you can overcome it with the wisdom wind. So you have to replace it with the wisdom wind. So it's your internal mechanism that is manifesting this world outside. So there could be like this biggest war on the outside, but it won't affect you if you have your internal wind corrected. If you are mounting a wisdom wind, the outside forces cannot even touch you, cannot affect you. It doesn't matter. It could be like the whole world is collapsing, and if you are mounting the correct wind, nothing can affect you. Just like the mechanism is inside of you, so it's not outside. So whatever they tell you on the outside, don't believe that, and focus on Father, and put everything on Father. Know that he will help you achieve your purification, and trust him. Even if you don't have food on your table, trust our Father. Go study Elijah. Don't doubt anything that you see on the outside. Just focus on your internal wind system. Focus on harnessing your wisdom winds, and let go of the impure winds and replace it. Always replace it with your pure wind. And also you have to work towards gaining emptiness, work towards gaining your emptiness, and work towards balancing the war of the duality, of the peace and war. The duality will always exist. So you have to get to a point that you are not constantly in that battle of peace and war, but you have to get to the empty state. You have to get to the non-dual aspect of that peace and war. So for the red increase, the energy is peace and war. So with the peace and war, you have to realize the very empty. So you have to get to the non-dual, very empty state. So that should be your focus. So not just always like using medicine for poison, always getting sick and always using medicine for poison. Not doing that all the time, but being able to balance the medicine and the poison. The war and peace, being able to balance that and attaining your emptiness. And that should be your end goal, and not always being on war. But what your goal should be is the non-dual, is the emptiness. So that's what you have to aim for. It will be like a shortcut. There's no shortcut, but that will be easier. If you abide in emptiness, you do not have to deal with the polarity forces. You do not have to deal with the dark and light. And that's another mechanistic way to approach it. You're literally not engaging in any black and white. You're not engaging in dark and light. You're not engaging in peace and war. You're just harnessing emptiness. You're staying in your non-dual state. And that's the wind. And that you're literally dissolving the dark and light. You're literally dissolving the white horse, you're literally dissolving. The red horse, you're literally dissolving. The black horse, and you can only dissolve it in emptiness. So once you dissolve, you automatically realize your emptiness, and through that emptiness you get to the next state. So if you want to go to the next state, you can only get to the next stage once you realize emptiness for one horse. So if you realize emptiness for the first white horse of the apocalypse, then the red one will rise. Then you achieve emptiness for the red one, then the black one will rise. Then you achieve emptiness for the black one, then the non-destructible, indestructible drop will arise, and that's indestructible. And in that instance, you overcome death itself. Instead of focusing on the dualistic approach, you can directly start working with the emptiness. You can start working with the emptiness energy, the non-dual state, and use your duality every now and then when you need it. You can use the duality, but most of the time just focus on the non-dual emptiness, because that's where everything will dissolve. Whatever the dark wants to do, this dark and light battle that they want to constantly create in your life, you can dissolve all that into emptiness. And that's the information I wanted to share, and you can read this piece of information that I have written down, study both the Hebrew and the Buddhist scriptures, and understand what's going on with the Great Tribulation, and so that you are able to be successful in your spiritual journey, and so that you are not confused and tricked and led astray by the demons that are extremely, extremely, extremely jealous of you, and that absolutely want to drag you to hell for no reason, because there's no intelligence behind that. It's just like, let's take all these people to hell and they can suffer. That's it. There's nothing. There's no reason there. There's no intelligence there. There's nothing there. They just want you to suffer, and Father doesn't work that way. When we suffer, we actually realize the wisdom of something. When we suffer, we actually overcome something. And there is intelligence behind suffering. There's intelligence behind inflictions. But the demons, for them, hurting someone is just hurting someone. Let's beat someone to just beat someone. Let's inflict someone to just inflict someone. Let's trick someone to just trick someone. So they don't have intelligence behind what they do. So if they're trying to take you to hell, they just want to, let's take these people to hell so that they can just suffer. But that's not how it works in spirituality. And that's what the demons don't want to understand. The demons want to believe that they can hurt you to hurt you, like a high school bully. That's their approach. But spiritually, it doesn't work that way. Whenever you experience something negative, it's because that you're not seeing that negative instance, and you have to transform that negative instance into positivity. And that's what the whole point of negativity is. It's called wrathful enlightened activity and peaceful enlightened activity. So initially you'll be taught peacefully, and if you don't get it, you'll be taught wrathfully, but it is still an enlightened activity, because it's trying to get you out of that ignorant state, and it's trying to get you out of that poisonous impure state and take you into your pure state. And that's it. That's as simple as it is. It's like everyone is trying to get you out of the impure state and take you into the pure state. And that's basically your entire spiritual system. That's the basis of everything, is to purify yourself, is to awaken you, is to make you see the truth. It's like, come out of there, it's not real, it's not true. Wake up. And it's all about waking you up from your ignorance, waking you up from you not being able to see, so that ultimately you realize the truth, and then you don't have to suffer in ignorance. You suffer because of ignorance. Everything is ignorance. Everything that we encounter, sickness, things that we don't want to experience, everything results from ignorance. It's nothing but ignorance. So when you have the knowledge, when you ride the correct wisdom, when you mount the correct horse, when you mount the horse of peace, when you mount the horse of wisdom, and you're riding wisdom, that means you're not going to suffer, because you're riding wisdom. It's as easy as that. So understand yourself as an entire mechanism, in terms of like how the inside mechanism is creating the outside world. And you take complete and total responsibility of how you manifest and how you feel in different situations. So you're not affected by them and impacted by them, and then you're not afraid, and that you are not ignorantly believing in the things that the demons are falsely showing you, these dangerous things. But in fact, they are all the manifestation of your own internal mechanism of what wind you are riding. And understand yourself in that way. Understand yourself as a very powerful spiritual being, and that what goes on within you manifests on the outside, and that the outside cannot touch you if you have your internal winds, if you're mounting the right wind. If on the inside you are good, whatever takes place, transpires on the outside, doesn't apply to you and will not affect you. So that's how you can approach the Great Tribulation. And it is 7 years, and the 7 years of great intensity. As Christ has said, nothing like this has ever happened, and nothing like this will ever happen in eternity. So that's what we are experiencing in the Great Tribulation. So make the most of that situation, and make sure that you are able to enter heaven, that you can rapture and go to heaven. And don't miss out on that Great Tribulation. Enjoy it. Be a tantric practitioner and absolutely enjoy the Great Tribulation, and see darkness, and see ignorance, and see anger and desire for what it is. See it for what it is, and be a tantric practitioner and learn from it, and rapture and go to heaven, because you only have like 3.5 years or 7 years to experience all of it. And then once you experience it, then you will never, ever, 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 ever in your entire eternity, you will ever encounter that again, because we have dissolved it. It will not come back because it's gone. So it's your opportunity to learn directly from the dark forces, to see deception for what it is, to see what darkness is, to see what pride and ego and selfishness and narcissism is, to see how evil operate, how dumb they are, how stupid they are, and how evil likes to sing and dance, like all the celebrities, that they're constantly singing, dancing, they're doing their fashion, they're always stripping their clothes and making us see their butt and boobs. So you will see like how stupid and dumb they are. Like they are so vicious, but at the same time, they love to sing and dance, and they love to dance naked and walk naked on stage, like the Victoria's Secret male models and all the celebrities that dance naked on stage. You will see how dumb and stupid they are, and what they like to do and what they're into. So it's like a good time for you to study darkness, good time for you to study evil, good time for you to study ignorance and stupidity. And most things are extremely funny. So have fun and laugh, but at the same time, take your journey extremely seriously, so that you rapture and go to heaven. And I hope to see you in heaven. And I hope to see you in the Christ age, that we will be together, and we will have the best time in the Christ age, and we will tell all our stories and everything that we have experienced. We will share, and we will live in great happiness and great peace and great spirituality in the age of Yeshua, Son of God, the 7,000 age, the 7th day of Sabbath, rest day, and we will rest for 1,000 years together. Thank our Father in heaven. We thank our Mother in heaven. We thank Yeshua, Son of God. We thank all the angels that protect us. We thank the universe. We thank our spiritual journey, and we thank the Great Tribulation.